Great pleasure right now to welcome to our show today, man. You have probably seen in the newspapers, maybe online, maybe in his books. He is the writer and artist for the Big Nate comic strip and comic book series, and he has a new one out called Big Nate on a Roll. We're joined today by Lincoln Peirce by telephone. How are you, Lincoln?
Hi, Doug. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good to have a chance to talk to you. Get a chance to read through the latest book, and it's a lot of fun. Congratulations, first of all, on the success not only of the strip, but of the series of books you're putting out.
Yes, thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun writing these books, which is still a relatively new thing for me, so I'm really enjoying it.
Is it much of a difference in writing a book with the character as opposed to the daily comic strip?
Yeah, there are some differences. I mean, they're the same characters, of course, but in a comic strip, you really are somewhat limited by the format of just having a few panels every day to tell your stories. And in a book where I have a couple of hundred pages to work with, I can obviously tell longer stories, and I can get a little more detailed and elaborate with the artwork because I just have more space to work with. You know, the way newspapers shrink comics down to maybe about 6 inches wide, there's not all that much room for detail when you get down to that size.
Yeah, one thing, I'll talk about the comic strip too, but one thing about the book, you can do things like, you have flashbacks in the book of the character, you have little asides, I guess, what's going on in the character's mind, so it really opens up new possibilities with that amount of space, doesn't it?
It really does. You know, I have enjoyed it. I wasn't entirely sure when I started this process whether I would enjoy writing books or if I'd be any good at it because I had never tried it before. And I really do enjoy it. It's a different kind of writing, and it really has opened up a lot of new possibilities for the characters.
Now, this is it a 16-book series you're doing? Did I get that right?
Well, the chapter books it's going to be a series of 8, and then we're also doing some other books that bring the total to 16. We're doing some activity books, and we're doing some compilations of the strip. But as far as the chapter books go, as of right now, the plan is for there to be 8.
Great. Yeah, that's all since, I guess, early March of 2010. You started the books, right? Or was that the first one?
Right, yeah. It's been kind of a whirlwind.
Yeah.
The publisher, HarperCollins, I think first contacted me in maybe April of '09, and now I've already got my 3rd book out, so it's been going pretty fast.
And you're doing so well online, which I think that's where everything's going to be online eventually.
I know, yeah. Newspapers, of course, are kind of feeling the bite, and cartoonists have for a long time now, cartoonists have been wondering, what's that going to mean for the comics pages? And for right now, anyway, I'm happily coexisting in some newspapers and then online at gocomics.com. And so I think there's room. People are always going to want their comics, and either on the web or through newspapers. We're just making sure that people can still read them.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because unfortunately our papers down here in Tampa Bay, Sarasota area, they always put a little indicator in the paper. If you want to go to read the comics now, you have to go to this website. They don't even print them down here anymore, which I think is a shame because people for years have bought newspapers, maybe not only to read the comics, but that was one of the main reasons to read the comic strips. It kept people coming back every day.
Absolutely. I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard years ago that newspapers receive the most letters about comics than anything in the paper besides the editorial page.
Right.
I mean, people really do care about their comics, and if a newspaper tries to drop a comic strip that they've run for years and years and years, they are definitely going to hear about it. So, of course, as a cartoonist, I think that it's a little short-sighted of newspapers to be trying to save money on their comics pages, but sadly, that's not my decision to make. So I'm just happy that I've had the chance to sort of expand my horizons a little bit and do these books as well.
Talking with Lincoln Peirce, the artist and author of Big Nate. The latest book is called Big Nate on a Roll. And for those people out there, Lincoln, maybe not familiar of the process of doing a comic strip, how far in advance for the newspaper one do you have to write ahead?
Well, I think my deadlines are, you have to be you have to be at least a month ahead with your daily strips and about 2 months ahead with your Sundays because those take a little bit longer to process. And I try to stay even farther ahead than that because I just want to be certain that if I run into some sort of massive case of writer's block or if we have some sort of family emergency that I'll have a little backlog. So I think right now I'm about 3 months ahead of my deadlines, which sometimes is a little odd because it's the middle of summer and you find yourself, you're writing jokes for, I think I'm right around
Thanksgiving,
right
right?
so you have to kind of ignore what you see out the window and think about what you see on the calendar you have in front of you.
And do you literally just have a big white sheet of paper and you draw it that way? Is that how you work, or do you do it on a computer, or how do you draw that?
I'm very old school with the materials. I just have white paper. I sketch the strips out. And this is the way I work for the books, too. I sketch the artwork out in a special kind of pencil. It's called a non-photo blue pencil because it doesn't show up on photocopies, which is very helpful so that then when I ink over my artwork in pen, I don't have to go back and erase any pencil lines. And really my only concession to the high-tech world is I do scan my strips now and send them in electronically. I used to go to the post office and just send in the originals that way.
Oh, that makes it a little bit easier then, sure.
Yeah.
Don't have to rely on the mail or getting lost, but you can just scan it in, and that's great, yeah. And then they shrink it down. What size is a strip that they shrink it down? You said 6 times they shrink it down to 1/6 of the size?
Well, they shrink it down to about 6 inches wide. When I draw a Big Nate strip, it's about 14 inches wide and about 4 inches tall.
I just wondered how big the paper was that you actually draw it on. Yeah, so it's that big.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And again, for everybody, I'm sure knows about the character, but a few people may not be aware of it. To talk a little bit about who Big Nate is, and obviously it's got to be based on you in some form, right?
I think in some fashion, there definitely is some of me in there. Nate is a 6th grade boy. He's 11 years old. And he really is sort of his own biggest fan. So he has a lot of self-confidence. He has a lot of big ideas. And he's the sort of kid who I try to make it really clear to people who read the strip or who read the books that, he really is a good kid. But he tends to get into trouble just because his ideas and his schemes don't always play out the way that he thinks they will. But he's a good kid and a very colorful character. And then the world that he is part of is really centered around his school. When I started the comic strip years ago, I thought it was going to be sort of a kind of a family domestic strip with a lot of jokes about Nate and his single dad and his older sister. But in pretty short order, I realized that I thought the jokes that I was writing for his school situations were more fun. So really the characters that you see the most of are his classmates and his teachers, and the adventures you read about are pretty much school-based.
Yeah, I don't remember any other strips that really had that kind of a location for the characters. I mean, I know some would maybe have a series or two where they had some things in school, but I don't remember one being almost specifically with classmates, so that's a good idea.
Well, of course I grew up reading Peanuts, as everybody did, who's my age. I'm in my late 40s,
right.
And of course the thing about Peanuts was you never saw any adults in the strip.
No.
And so for me, I knew that Nate's teachers and the way that he would bounce off them and his relationships with them, I wanted those to be a big part of things. And so I can't imagine doing a kids-only strip where you only sort of hear the teachers' voices from off screen.
Yeah, they always have it on the television versions. There's that kind of wah-wah sound from the adults.
Right.
Well, I had a chance to, like I said, read through the book, and it's not only for kids. I mean, adults are going to enjoy this, and I think that's a tribute to you. You can write comedy that kids and adults can both enjoy. I don't think you see enough of that today.
Well, thank you. I always say that my litmus test is if I'm in my office at home, if I can crack myself up, then that's what I go with, because I feel like I have a pretty good handle on what what I would have thought was funny when I was a kid, and I have a good handle, obviously, on what I think is funny now as an adult. So that's sort of what I go with.
You know, a website, Lincoln, people get a hold of the book, maybe send you a message or something. You have a website you want people to go to?
There's a great website, especially for kids. It's called BigNateBooks.com. And on that site, kids can play games, they can get a sneak peek at the book. I write a blog there twice a week, which I'm actually going to start writing more frequently because I'm about to go out on a book tour where I'll be visiting schools, and also I'll blog every day about the schools that I happen to be visiting that day. So, BigNateBooks.com.
Great. And again, it's called Big Nate on a Roll, the latest in the series of books, and more to come. And Lincoln Peirce, we look forward to talking to you again when the next one comes out. Thanks for being with us today.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.